This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Let's jump into some news and notes. Apparently something happened at FanFest for Bound for Glory. Meltzer would write, at the September pay-per-view, Cornette told Dutch Mantell and Jeff Jarrett he didn't want to get in the way of their business or cause a problem due to Vince Russo being a booker, so he gave his notice. He suggested coming to Bound for Glory, having a heel give him a beating, and that would be the way to write him off. He said in January they could reevaluate the situation, basically based on if Russo had been fired by that point. Jarrett told Cornette that they needed him and that Russo was a changed man and asked them to give him a chance. Cornette cut his Russo promo about how he buried Cornette, Ross, and anyone with an accent at the studio, and he hated Russo for ruining careers, booking WCW into oblivion, exposing the business to an undreamed of level, and ended by noting that he's booked for 3 companies. The first he walked out of with no notice, the second he destroyed, and the third he got removed from Power. Jarrett told Cornette he wouldn't accept his resignation and they would continue to book him. He did tell Cornette that he could no-show his booked dates, but noted that he'd be the one who came off looking bad in that situation. Jarrett asked Cornette to give the company a chance, and an agreement was made that the two would avoid each other at all costs, that Russo would never interact with or give orders to Cornette, and Cornette would never try to physically attack Russo. The night before Bound for Glory,
Dave wrote that. Yeah.
Cornette caused a scene when he got riled up by fans talking about Russo and started verbally abusing Russo. Dixie Carter was there and didn't appear to be very happy at how this was going. By the end of the night, after so many fans had talked with Cornette, and then in the evening at the bar when so many other people had talked with Cornette about Russo and his hot temper, Cornette was on the warpath again and had to be calmed down. People watching from the outside are skeptical that this relationship will last, although aside from Russo, Cornette seems to be enjoying being around the product and everyone else. A lot to unpack there, as I like to say. Let's start at the beginning. You sort of teased this last week at Bound for Glory or a few weeks ago when we talked about Bound for Glory, and you said, well, Corny knew he would have been in breach if he didn't show up. Let's talk about that for a moment here. How close to accurate is this report in the Observer that this is the way things went down, that Cornette just couldn't help himself and sort of showed his ass at FanFest?
Look, I don't have direct recollection of Cornette. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you know of anybody walking the face of this earth that can deliver a cussing quite as eloquently as Jim?
He invented it. I get it. It's a wrestling podcast, but he's saving us money on our mortgage. Do you really trust this process? The reviews don't lie. 5-star review after 5-star review. We make it fast, we make it easy, and it's no cost or obligation. Give us a shot to earn your business. I'm telling you, you'll be glad you did, especially if you like keeping more of your own money. You don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket. So what are you waiting for? Hurry to SaveWithConrad.com. I mean, he probably has a patent on it. I mean, Cornette, when he gets fired up, is without question the most entertaining individual of all time. Like, not just in wrestling, but my goodness, when he gets fired up and going, he's wound up, man. And I love that it's even written in black and white here. That just tickled me so much that they would, you guys are going to avoid each other at all costs. He'll never give you orders, Jim, and you'll never even have to interact with him. Here's all I ask. Don't physically attack him.
Yes. And Dave wrote it.
Come on. That's not real. Cornette's a nice guy. I just, well, talk me through this. What's the real?
Early days of TNA when Cornette spit on Ed Farrar because of the JR impersonation. So look, again, I knew Cornette when I was literally a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid. And, Cornette's got a passion like none other. And him and Dutch have had a long running relationship. And I don't remember the Bound for Glory incidents. I'm not disputing it whatsoever. Jim can, he can get, the fuse can be lit very quickly. But again, I don't dispute that. I don't recall it exactly, but I do remember me pleading with Jim, and that's probably the proper word. I'm like, Jim, look, in a lot of ways, and I don't know if I use these exact words, quit selling Russo so much, because don't let him get too much headspace. Don't let him be the reason you walk out and do this and do that. Just dive in. But I can assure you, you don't have to listen to him. You don't have to take orders. He's not your boss. You're not reporting to him, because that would be that'd be an issue. But yeah, he reported to me in Dutch, and we've always had a great working relationship. And at this point, Vince had, I didn't know at the time, but he had back channeled with Dixie, and came in, and Dixie wanted her to have a guy in there, and I get it, but it was what it was. But I don't remember the altercation. But it does tickle me how Dave reported it. But look, business was business, and we were going to move on down the tracks. Look, in everyday life, in every locker room, people don't always get along. I mean, the Becky Charlotte situation, I think's pretty entertaining, and reading the comments online about that. I'll just leave that at that. But in a locker room, look, this isn't, I think I said, it's not ballet. This isn't kumbaya. This isn't, kindergarten class where we're all going to play duck, duck, goose. This is business. So take care of business and let all your personal feelings out the door. They're irrelevant.
It just tickles me. Jim, could you please not hurt him today? Do you remember talking to Dixie about all this?
She asked about it. And I Dixie, not everybody's always going to get along. That's fictitious. And I always was the one. I can tell you, I had many of these conversations with Dixie and others, but I'm like, if there's not a very healthy, and I stress the word healthy, form of competition in our locker room, it's just not real. I want people scratching and clawing and digging, and everybody wanting to outdo the others. Now, I'm not saying cutthroat, and certainly not hurt anybody on purpose, but I want there to be a sense of real competition. Because if you're all sort of huggy, kissy, kumbaya, I don't think there's any money in that. At the end of the day, money's what drives this industry. And so I love a competitive locker room. I think it's a very healthy situation. Sometimes that boils over, and sometimes that gets out of hand. But I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I think I think if you have a completely kumbaya locker room.
Well, now, hang on now. You're talking about two different things. You're talking about locker room versus writer's room. You're talking about, Cornett and Russo here, we're going to be held. Sure, they may have done stuff on camera occasionally, but by and large, we're talking about working in an office environment.
Jim's never, ever worked in a TNA office. He's never.
I'm not saying he went to a Nashville office, but he's okay.
My bad. Yeah, he's never been a part of an official member of the creative team.
Okay.
Valuable input week in, week out to myself directly or to Dutch. And Jim would give his thoughts. And when he would come and produce the TV and be a part of it and be on site producing, a lot of times he would pull Dutch aside or me aside or whatever. And he'd say, hey, the next episode or the next week or this story could go there. We valued his opinion, but he was never per se on the creative team. And by design, he didn't want to be.
I got you.
Mm-hmm.
So we eventually get to where we're just going to coexist, and you feel like, okay, we've moved on. do you remember feeling like, okay, that's put to bed now? Or was it always something where you felt like, well, we're walking on eggshells and we'll just see how today goes?
No, I thought that everybody was going to be professional about it. I didn't ever expect them to bring each other Happy Meals, but I expected there to be a professional working relationship, although a bit strained. A lot worse could be going on, and we had a lot bigger fish to fry and focus on. Hey guys, let's all go to work and do our very best, and let's go make money.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com.